Hello, my name is Rebecca DeSano. I'm a senior at ETSU majoring in History and Political Science. Today I would like to discuss the conflict in Argentina known as the Dirty War and the Peronist element within the war. But first I'd like to identify Peronism. Peronism is a political and social movement. Peronism started during the 1940s in Juan Perón's regime as a right-leaning movement, but over the next several decades it transformed. By 1970, it was left-leaning. Although Peronism transformed to a left ideology, some original concepts of Peronism remain. There are three concepts of Juan Perón the Peronist kept. One is the belief in social reforms, for example, education reforms, workers' rights, and benefits. The second concept is social justice. According to David Rock, social justice of Perón is the creation of an Argentine philosophy derived from native Hispanic traditions to emancipate Argentina from foreign modes of thought, which promote a sovereign Argentina. The third concept is a concept known as judicialismo, which encompasses the notion of sovereign and equality for Argentina, as well as leading the third world countries separate of U.S. and Soviet influence during the Cold War. The Peronist movement is made up of intellectuals, some military officers, workers of all professions, mostly working and middle class, and the Montoneros, who are armed Peronists. Leading up to the Dirty War, there was a lot of political and social upheaval. Argentina's government was in constant turmoil. The labor and workers were unhappy with conditions, and there was an oil crisis that hit Argentina very hard. According to Paul Lewis, by 1976, inflation would reach more than 900%, which led to the inability for people to provide even the most basic of needs for their family. The Peronist guerrillas caused massive chaos in Argentina in the 1960s and 1970s. However, it is important to note that not all Peronists were violent and armed guerrilla fighters. All this animosity in Argentina set the stage for the military junta. And on March 24, 1976, there was a military coup. At first, it was very popular among Argentines. They were sick and tired of violence and the guerrilla warfare, and they craved the stability they thought the junta would give them. And after 20 years of national crisis, the military junta's mantra was to restore basic values in Argentina. And these basic values were made up of Catholic values, family values, and Western traditional values. As soon as the military junta took office, the Dirty War started. The Dirty Wars were from 1976 to 1983. One of the main goals of the military junta was to purge communists, and under the junta's umbrella of communism were Peronists, because the government did not view Peronist as part of a traditional Argentina. Thus, the Peronists were a threat to those values the military junta held dear. The military government targeted the general population, unionists, students, and anyone involved in activist groups. The Argentine military government was now waging war against their civilians. They punished any students who did not agree with the regime. They were expelled, fired, exiled, or worse. One example, known as the Night of the Pencils, was a series of kidnappings and forced disappearance followed by the torture, rape, and murder of a number of students in September 1976. This Night of the Pencils was to stop Argentine schools from teaching the concepts of Peronism and to stop intellectual Peronists altogether. One of the main resources the military used on their civilians was Battalion 601. Battalion 601 was a special unit to deal with the dirty wars and use dirty tactics. They did the Army's dirty work, kidnaps, torture, murder of civilians. One of the most sinister methods used for killing prisoners was to drop them from airplanes over the South Atlantic Sea. These were known as death flights. Other types of tortures were watching your family get tortured or murdered, operating rooms, and in these operating rooms there were things called electric pods, which were placed on sensitive areas of the body. These are just some examples of the torture that was used on civilians. The estimated number of disappearances during the Dirty War in Argentina ranged from 10,000 to 30,000. And this is a picture of missing Argentines. And this picture represents the missing people during the Dirty War. This collage is powerful because it puts a face to the missing people and shows that these people were individuals, part of families, and had friends, not just a number. The backlash to the military junta. The Mothers of the Plaza was a social and human rights movement that started during the Dirty War. A group of mothers started meeting in 1977 and marched out in public to demand their missing children back or to know what happened to them. This made the military regime look like hypocrites and against family and Catholic values. According to Fernando Bosco's article, the Mothers of the Plaza brought international attention to the Dirty War and human rights violations. The Mothers of the Plaza also put names and faces to the Peronists who went missing and added an emotional element to the killings. And this picture of the Mothers of the Plaza depicts the desperate plea for missing family members, and one can see how this movement would resonate with people all over the world. The downfall of the military junta. The military junta needed to redirect the nation's focus. The initial popularity of the military junta had faded by 1980. So General Videla looked to the Falklands. The Falklands were established by Great Britain in 1840. When Argentine government invaded the Falklands, they underestimated Great Britain's ability and determination to keep the Falklands. The Falkland War lasted from April to June of 1982. And by June, Argentine's military was defeated. This was a humiliation to the military junta. The Falkland War was the so-called dagger in the military junta's coffin. And in 1983, Videla's regime was thrown out of power. With the end of Videla's regime, it also marked the end of the Dirty Wars. So thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed my mini lecture and learned valuable information about Argentina's Dirty War and Peronism.